for the recording to start?
I've already started it.
Oh, it's already started. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, now it's displaying the message. Okay, cool. Okay, thanks for having me. It's 8:30 almost in the morning here, so an early morning for me. But I hope you're enjoying the conference so far. I'll start with sharing my screen and also start with sending a URL in the chat, and I'll explain that in a minute. Let me share the screen. So let me know if you see my screen. Right.
Yes, it is visible.
Great, cool. So once again, thanks for having me, and thanks to all the sponsors for making this bootcamp possible. The title of my session could be the start of a very bad joke, but it's actually well, an integration of Power Platform products and Microsoft Forms. It's technically not part of the Power Platform, and I'm going to show you how to incorporate these three products, so Forms, Power Automate, and Power BI, into an interactive application. And before I start with that, I would like to ask from you if you would go to the bit.ly link. So on the left, it's the same as the QR code. It's the URL I posted in the chat. And if you go to that link, then you will end up at this form. If you answer a few of these questions, then the answers will eventually pop up in this Power BI dashboard. And it would be great to have some data in there. And I know a little bit about your background, who is joining me. So I will let you fill out the form, and I will just continue with my introduction. So I'm wondering if anyone recognizes this logo. It was actually from the Business Application Summit that was held a few years back in America. And they were writing out a contest for the best logo to convey the message of the Power Platform products being better together. And well, this was the winner, of course. And I attended the Power Platform Summit in Europe back in 2019. And one of the sessions there was a Microsoft Power series, where there's a few people from Microsoft. They provided deep dive sessions into a topic, and this one was administration of Power BI. And one of the members there, the topic of the deep dive session was very interactive, and they asked questions to the audience also. And whenever you got the question right, you could demo the feature on stage. So to answer the question, you could demo it on stage, and also you got awarded some points, and the winner in the end got awarded some swag. And to keep the score, they created a Power App inside the Power BI report. Back then, that was a fairly new feature, and that actually gave me some ideas how to incorporate the Power Platform products into one application. And this session is about one of those applications. So I'm Nicky from Vroenhoven. I am the unit lead Power BI at PowerDops, a small consultancy company in the Netherlands, in Den Bosch, so in the south of the Netherlands. I've been working for about 15 years in BI, and now as a Power BI consultant at several clients. And I'm also very active online. I have my own blog where I write about Power BI, Power Platform, some other things I find interesting. And I'm also awarded a Data Platform MVP for 3 times now. And I just love to share my knowledge, love to help people also in the Power BI community. with answering questions. And well, one of the things I also like to do is well, tell people about the things I create. So the form I created for you. Let's go to the form a little bit. Let's see if there are any answers in, and otherwise we'll come back in a minute to refresh it for a second. Yes, there we are. Very nice. And let's have a look. Okay, we have some forms, Automate and Power BI, no integration. Okay, that's good. Well, then you're in the right spot, right? Okay, so today I'm going to use two of the Power Platform products, and actually there's also the new kit on the block, Power Pages, that is not yet incorporated here. So I'm going to use Power Automate to get the answers from my Microsoft form into a Power BI streaming data set, and then I'm going to display that into a report eventually. So first I'm going to create that form. We need a streaming data set for it because the data in the form will be processed when it's filled in. I'm going to create a flow also in Power Automate, then a report on top of that streaming data set. And the last part is creating a dashboard on top of the report. And that dashboard is important because I want to have a live refresh. And I will show you that in the end also. So that dashboard makes it easy to not have to refresh the page. So a couple of things, a little bit more detail. In the form, you have a lot of options that you can choose from. So there's an open-ended question, like a few that I used. You also have multiple choice. That's a little bit harder to use in Power BI because you get a comma-separated value back in your streaming data set. So you have to get that out into different fields if you like. And for example, you also have Likert scales. So you can rate a question, for example, and that are a few different choices that you have. Depending on what type of question that you use, you'll have to either do a little bit of transformation in Power BI, or you can use it right away. For the flow, we are going to use the automated flow. So the form will be the trigger of that flow. And in the end, you can use the URL of the form to share it with other people, like I did. You can either do it internally in your team, in your company, or externally. So enough of all the slides. I would say let's dive right in. Let's go to workspace. Let's first start with the form. So I created a demo form that I'm going to use. And let's just add a few questions here. So like I mentioned, there's a rating option that you have in forms. There are a few more here also. So let's use this one and see how it turns out. This templates. So this way we can rate what we think of the bootcamp so far. And let's use the choice indeed. And use the same question. With let's use the same question I did in my opening form. Let's use forms, Power BI, automate. The last one is then integration. And I'm going to check multiple answers, right? So you can check 1, 2, 3, or 4 of them. And with that, now my demo form is ready. You can even preview it here and fill it in. That's what I'm going to do later to test the solution. And of course, you can do all sorts of things in the form itself, but I'm not going too deep into there right now. And the last one is if you want to share it, you'll have to make sure that you select anyone can respond. It might be set to the second option, so only people in my organization can respond. So make sure that it's set to anyone can respond, and you can either copy this URL, it's a long URL, shorten it, or create a separate service. I used bit.ly, so you have a short bit.ly link. You can do it any way you want. You can also create a QR code from here. So now that I have my form, I am going to create the Power BI streaming dataset. Right now I'm in my workspace. You could also do it in any other workspace. It's a pro license is enough for that. And if you're not sharing the report with anyone, you could even do it with a free license if you're just doing it in your own workspace. Yes, let's start a streaming dataset. I'm choosing the API version here, and then clicking next. Clicking the name, user group, and here I'm going to give the columns the name and the data type. So I'm starting with the name. That's the first question I had, and you can actually choose from those 3 data types. So we have text, number, and date time. So that's all the data types that are there right now. And text is fine. Let's have the form ready. So it's the country, the rate, and experience. So the next one is the country. It's also text. The rate will be a number, and this is actually going to be a number from 1 to 10. So you can average the score and display it on your report. And the last one was the experience, right? That's also text. And the last important thing is to enable this switch, the historic data analysis. If you don't enable it, then the data will be gone after, I think, 30 minutes in this dataset. If you enable it, then the data will stay there forever until you delete it. So I'm just going to create this streaming dataset now. And just come down. So here it is, the demo Pakistan user group. If I go back to edit mode again, if for any reason you want to delete the data in there, so if you're testing it out, for example, and then after you're done testing, you want to delete all the values that are in there, you can just switch off the button, click done, so save it. Now all the data is gone that was in there, and then turn it back on again, and then you can save the data again. So that's to enable testing the dataset, for example, and then emptying it again. So the second step, my streaming dataset is also done. Let's now go to Power Automate. In Power Automate, you can do 2 things. You can either create a new flow from scratch or start from a template. And there are actually a lot of templates available. And let's search for the thing I want. Let's search for forms and Power BI and see what comes up. There's not very much coming up, but we do see this one. Let's have a look at what it's doing. So it's actually getting data from forms into Power BI, but it has an approval step between. So let's have a look. So here it's getting the data from a form. That's good. It has an approval in between, and then condition, if it's approved, then it's going to add the rows to the dataset. Otherwise, it will do nothing, or another action that you can define. So I can either delete the steps that I don't need here, but for the sake of the demo, I'm going to just create my flow from scratch and let you see how easy it actually is. So I'm just going to start here, create my flow, and as I mentioned, I'm creating an automated cloud flow, so triggered by an event, and that event will be filling in the form. You also have other options, so scheduling a flow, for example, scheduling it daily, weekly, or monthly. An instant cloud flow is just a flow that is triggered manually. You could also do it manually in Power BI. So there's a button that you can create in a Power BI report, and with that button you can start a flow. So that's the combination that you can use to use an instant cloud flow. But we are going to use this one. Give it a name, and as you see, it already pops up my Microsoft Forms option. Otherwise, I could search for it, and then it also comes up. So this is the one I need. When a new response is submitted to my form, then this cloud flow will be triggered. So that's the first step I need. And I'm just going to pick my form. So that's the demo Pakistan user group. And after I have the form, the next thing I need to do, you also saw it in the template maybe. I need to get the response details. So this is just the connection to the form. And now I need the details of the form. So all the fields that are filled in, for example, I'm just clicking in the boxes, and then this pop-up comes up. So I'm clicking the response ID, and that will be populated with all the details in the form. So the next step will be Power BI. Just filter down to Power BI. And I want to add rows to a dataset. And it doesn't say it explicitly, but it's actually adding rows to a streaming dataset. That's the only possibility we have right now. I created it in my workspace. The dataset is called Pakistan user group, and the table will always be a real-time data. So that's just the name. It's the streaming dataset is given. And after a second or so, the columns of my dataset that I just created are popping up here. So that's good. And when I click in one of those fields, so the name field for the streaming dataset, the options that I have from my form will now pop up here. So all the questions that I created are tied to the response details, and I can just click on the values that I want to populate. So the country will be this, the rate, how awesome the bootcamp is, and the experience is I have experience with. And that's actually all we need. So I'm going to save it. The flow is ready to go. That's cool. You can even test it. And if you have previous runs of your flow, so if you have you already tested your run, you can trigger one of those runs to run again. But now we don't have it yet, so I'm going to do it manually. And now it says just submit a new response to the form, and you will see how it goes through the flow. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it to preview and just enter in my details. So the Netherlands, I think this is really awesome. And let's check all the boxes, see how it comes through. So this one is submitted. That's good. And we already saw it changing a little bit. The run history. So it's all green. That's good. Let's see what we got here. You can also see all the outputs here. You see the information that was submitted. We even have a little bit more time or more information than we got from the form questions. We also have the submission time, for example. But the most important part is here in the Power BI part. But this is where the data is entered into the streaming data set. So if I'm correct, the check marks are all green, the data should now be in the streaming data set. So let's have a look. I'm just going to check that here, creating a report on top of the streaming data set. And let's have a look at the data. So indeed, I see the data is all here. And as I mentioned, the multiple choice is a little bit tricky because it's populated in comma separated value. So you'll have to get the values out if you want to do it, something like that. I will show that in a minute. So this is good. The next thing I want to do is create a Power BI report on it. Therefore I have my Power BI desktop, and I'm just going to connect to that streaming data set. So my data set is there. Let's build up my demo for a second. There it is. So this is the one I just created. Connecting to the streaming data set, and as you see, it's connected live to this streaming data set I just created. So let's create a few visuals. Let's do a card first and get the count. So I have the number of submissions, the form. Maybe what I can do, let's start there. This is my demo form. Let's put this URL also in the chat. Shorten it a bit. Demo Pakistan user group. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to put this also in the chat. If you would, if you wouldn't mind, and filling it out, then I have a little bit more data in my demo report. It would be great. Then I'm just going to create this report a little bit further. Let's check the country. It automatically creates a map out of it. I have my experience. That's the one I need to work on a little bit. Do I have my, no, not yet. Let's get the amazing word cloud in. It's always good to have a word cloud in your report, right? There we are. So I'm getting the names in. And I still need my rate, yes. I'm going to do a card and then the average of the rate. And well, I only need my experience, right? Okay. For the experience, I need a little bit of docs. Going to create a new measure for this because I need to filter out the values of that experience column. So I'm using a contain string to see if the the value forms is in my column experience, and then if it is, then I'm counting all the occurrences of it and adding one to it. So that's actually it. Let's call this forms, and yeah, let's do it like that. Just checking real quick if forms Power BI Power Automate integration. Okay, that's the one I need. So let's create one more, and also do Power BI. And then search for Power BI. Let's have a look at what it looks. And there we are. And I see we already have some answers there. That's good. So if I refresh the report now, it should have some more. Cool. And well, let's create one more for the power output part. Just filter on automate. And let's include that in the visual. Yes. Yes, very good. Okay, so now I have my report in Power BI Desktop. I'm just going to save it and then publish it to my workspace. Because as I mentioned in the beginning, for the live refreshing part, I need it to be in a dashboard. And that's what I'm going to show you now. So it's published. So this is my my report again. I'm going to pin all the visuals to a dashboard. No, I need a new dashboard. Pin it. Just going to pin all the visuals real quick. Existing. And then I can show you what the live refreshing part is. So I pinned all the visuals. Let's go to the dashboard and have a look. Just going to rearrange it a little bit. Let's do it here. And make these a little bit bigger. Okay, let's close this. So now whenever I enter one of the new values, so I'm going to do that here. I don't have to refresh the page because this is now a dashboard. Is this the right one? Yes. Let's put in another one. Let's say I'm from Belgium this time. Still liking it. And I only have this experience. Let's submit it. Wait a second. And there we go. It refreshes automatically. And you could even put this on a screen somewhere in your company or on a dashboard or anywhere. So it automatically refreshes and you have the latest data in there. Just a few things I want to mention besides that. So there's one thing to keep in mind. There's this thing called the data loss prevention policy. It's in the Power Platform Admin Center, and well, it's to prevent data loss, of course. And the policy can be set up that the connectors that you use in Power Automate, for example. So let's go this way. So let's go to my flow again. The connectors that I used. Yes. Let me edit it, please. Thank you. The connectors, so the form, the Power BI dataset, and all the connectors that you see over here can be placed into certain buckets. And we have the business bucket, the non-business bucket, and the blocked one. And well, if it's in blocked, then obviously you can't use it. But if it's in one of the other two, you can use it. But you cannot use two connectors together that are in different groups. So, for example, if you have the form and the Power BI connector in the business group, and another one, for example, the Twitter one or the RSS feed in the non-business one, you cannot use that in one flow. If you do, then the flow will be blocked, and it will show a message that it cannot be enabled, and you have to adjust your flow or adjust the policy that is connected to your environment. And you can have multiple policies because it's showing on the top right here which environment you're in. You can have multiple environments also. This is the default one, as you see. And this default environment has a policy enabled to it. So if you get that message that it's blocked, you will see that it's mentioning the data loss prevention policy. And you'll either have to contact your admin and discuss the possibilities, and either adjust your flow or adjust the policy connected to your environment. So a few things you can do. Of course, you can also use Teams, for example, as an output. So instead of putting it in a Power BI dataset, you can also post things to Teams. You can either create a new thread or a reply. A reply is a little bit more complicated because you need to get the ID of the thread that you want to reply to. But those are all things that are possible. For example, if you look at the flows I have created this flow in our company that creates a Teams message whenever there is a new Power BI blog, and it is posted in our news channel of our company, so that we all are up to date on all Power BI features and announcements, and we can also chat about it in the Teams channel, or mention people that are that might want to see that session. Right here. I mentioned you can also use Twitter, of course, if it's enabled in your policy, your data loss prevention policy. Do be aware that if you're tweeting out the same data in your tweet, you might need to add an increment. So, for example, if you are tweeting out a response for every message that you get in your forms or in any other data gatherment that you have, you might want to add a date time or an increment or anything that is unique to your tweet. Otherwise, you get a message that it's a duplicate tweet and you can't send it out. Of course, you can also do other things like sending data to a SharePoint list or writing into a database, an Azure database or an on-premises one. Be aware that this particular connector, the database connector, is a premium connector. The ones I used and Twitter and Teams also are standard connectors. Those don't need a license. If you have a premium connector in your flow, then you do need a license, so a Power Automate license. And yeah, depending on the usage and the number of users, actually, you need a per user license or a per flow license. That's depending on your use. So be aware of the solution that you choose. Check out if the connectors are standard or premium before you start using the flow. The last thing I'd like to mention is I once had the need to actually when I started, I had this dashboard, right? So let's go here. So this dashboard, I could put it on screen, and one time I had an in-person conference presentation where I also did this presentation. And what I did, I had this dashboard on screen and also the first slide of my session, and I put that in another browser tab, and I used the Chrome extension, it's called Revolver, to cycle through the tabs. So people could see the first slide of my session when they walked into the room, and in 10 or 15 seconds, I think I cycled through the tabs So every 10 seconds, it would switch to the other tab, and it would either show this dashboard with the URL on screen, or the first slide of my session. So people knew where they were coming to, but also could see their own data that they were entering. So that's a nice feature to use if you need it in a session, or maybe on a dashboard also. You can also cycle through all the tabs there. If you want to read through the solution I presented today, you can find it on my blog. It's nickyvv.com. I created 2 extensive blog posts how to set up this solution. As I mentioned, be aware of the data loss prevention policies. It's important to have it in your mind. And a few other use cases that I saw for creating a real-time dashboards, for example, from Guy in the Cube, using a streaming data set, or building an IoT dashboard. And if you look at the first example, pushing data with PowerShell, if you look at the streaming data set again, real quick. So let's refresh it. Should be there. Yeah. So I have my demo Pakistan user group. Let's go here. API info. Yeah, that's what I need. So the push URL, this was also showing when I first created it. The push URL is the URL you can use, for example, with PowerShell and this code to push data to this streaming data set. And this API is actually also used under the covers in Power Automate. But yeah, you're just using the user interface to make it happen. But with PowerShell, you could also use it to populate your streaming dataset and get data from somewhere else into your streaming dataset. So with that, I'd like to say thank you. And if you have any questions, then please let me know. You can either ask them here in chat or post them on Twitter, and I'll try to answer them as quickly as possible. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thanks, Nicky. Thank you so much. I have one question. I'm not sure if it's relevant, but I have connected Power Automate to Dynamics FinOps and Dynamics CE. But is there any workaround or possibility to connect Power Automate to a Dynamics FinOps when the Dynamics FinOps is not cloud-hosted environment?
That's a good one. So it's an on-premises solution then. I think. Well, I don't know for that particular case, but if you have, for example, an on-premises database, so SQL Server database, for example, you need to set up a gateway, so a data gateway to enable the access of the on-premises data. I'm not sure if it's for Dynamics also in a database, so you need to reach it to a database, or is there a Dynamics connector? That's one thing I'm not sure about, but I think you would have to start with setting up a gateway so that you can reach the on-premises data.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. No problem.
Thank you so much for giving us so much time and for the session. It was very useful.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Nicky. And